You wake up at 3 in the morning with your bladder screaming at you. You stumble down a dark hallway, flip a switch, and sit on a heated seat with soft two-ply paper sitting right there waiting. You flush, wash your hands with warm water, and you're back in bed in under 90 seconds. You barely even wake up for any of it. Now, picture doing that same exact thing 40,000 years ago. No hallway, no light switch, no paper. Just you, alone, walking into pitch-black woods at 3 in the morning, listening hard for anything with teeth. You squat behind a tree, hoping nothing is watching you back. You grab a leaf off the nearest branch, and you hope it's the right kind. That was Tuesday for our ancestors. And here's the thing nobody really asks. Ancient humans had no toilets, no soap, and no sewage systems anywhere on Earth. So how did entire populations avoid getting violently sick every single week? Somehow, they didn't just survive it. Whole societies lasted for thousands of years without ever touching a flush toilet, and most of them had no idea germs even existed. By the end of this, you'll never look at your own bathroom the same way again. Today, we're digging into how ancient humans survived without bathrooms, one buried clue at a time. The real answer is stranger, smarter, and honestly grosser than almost anyone expects. Most people assume ancient humans just went wherever they felt like it, the second the urge hit, with zero thought given to cleanliness or consequence. For a long time, scientists mostly assumed the exact same thing. They pictured prehistoric life as one long, unplanned mess, with no order to it at all. But the real system ancient people built around prehistoric hygiene was far more organized than that picture ever let on. It was also, somehow, far more disgusting. The oldest solid proof of ancient waste disposal doesn't come from a toilet at all. It comes from fossilized human poop, called a coprolite. Researchers at Paisley Caves in Oregon found examples over 14,000 years old. Picture a scientist in a lab, carefully cracking open what looks like an ordinary dark rock. Inside is preserved human waste older than farming itself, older than the wheel, older than almost anything you'd call civilization. Inside that rock, they found parasite eggs, chewed up plant fibers, and tiny bone fragments. Those were leftovers from a meal eaten thousands of years earlier. It's the same as cracking open a time capsule. That capsule records exactly what someone ate for dinner, long before the pyramids were even an idea in anyone's head. Here's the strange part, though. Those coprolites weren't scattered randomly across the cave floor. They clustered together in specific spots, almost like the cave had assigned bathroom zones nobody ever had to explain out loud. Nobody wrote a sign. Nobody held a meeting about it. Nobody left instructions carved into a rock for the next generation to find. So why would a group with no rule book and no supervisor all agree, without a single word, on exactly where to go? Think about how strange that actually is. No boss assigned the zones. No fine got handed out for breaking the rule. And yet, thousands of years apart, in completely different caves, the same basic pattern shows up again and again. It's like the behavior was written into people before language ever caught up to explain it. That question leads somewhere wild. Anthropologists have spent years studying the Hadza people of Tanzania, one of the last surviving hunter-gatherer groups left on Earth. They noticed something surprising about where camp members chose to relieve themselves. It almost never happened near the water source. It almost never happened right inside the living area either. Researcher Frank Marlowe spent years documenting daily Hadza life up close. He recorded camps keeping a clear, unspoken distance between where people slept and ate and where they went to the bathroom. Picture an entire community with no written laws and no health department. Somehow, they all agreed on invisible bathroom borders, and those borders got quietly passed down through generation after generation. That distance wasn't politeness. It was survival, built entirely on instinct and centuries of hard, painful trial and error. Every single group that got this wrong paid for it, sometimes with their lives. Whole camps could vanish within a season if the wrong waste ended up in the wrong stream. The survivors would simply move on, carrying the lesson forward without ever writing a single word of it down. And you, sitting there listening to this right now, still carry that exact same instinct. You feel it every time you'd rather walk to a gas station bathroom than use one right next to your dinner table. But keeping waste away from drinking water was only half the battle. So what happened to the people who got that part wrong anyway? Here's where it gets uncomfortable fast. Poor early human sanitation didn't just smell bad, it killed people. And that evidence is written directly into ancient bones and mummified remains. Egyptian mummies studied by paleopathologists, scientists who study ancient disease, show heavy infestations of parasites like tapeworms and roundworms. Some of these parasites grew large enough to spot without a microscope. They just sat there, preserved in tissue, for thousands of years, waiting to be found. One well-known study of ancient Egyptian remains found parasite evidence in the majority of the bodies tested. That means infection wasn't some rare, unlucky event. It was closer to normal, an everyday fact of simply being alive back then. Picture sharing your entire gut with worms long enough to actually see them on an X-ray. Now, picture just accepting that as part of ordinary life, the same casual way you accept catching a cold today. That wasn't one unlucky village having a bad year. That was the daily reality for enormous numbers of people across thousands of years of human history in nearly every corner of the ancient world. Stomach pain was normal. Constant fatigue was normal. Losing nutrients to a parasite living inside you was just part of growing up, long before anyone understood why. And honestly, if a modern doctor pulled up your own gut history from 10,000 years ago, you probably wouldn't want to see the results. The fact that any of them lived long enough to have kids at all starts to feel like a small miracle. But here's what changes everything about this story. Modern scientists studying those same ancient coprolites made a discovery nobody saw coming. It completely flips the disgust factor upside down. The gut bacteria found inside ancient poop was far more diverse than what shows up in most modern human waste today. It was packed with bacterial species that have mostly vanished from our bodies completely, species some scientists think we actually still need. Researchers studying these ancient microbiomes, the communities of bacteria living inside our gut, found something surprising. So-called primitive humans carried richer, healthier gut ecosystems than most people carry right now, in the year you're listening to this. That's despite the parasites, despite the danger, despite never once owning a single bar of soap in their entire lives. We eventually built toilets, sewage systems, and antibacterial everything. Honestly, thank goodness we did, because the death toll from waste-related disease used to be staggering, wiping out entire villages in a single bad season. But in the process, we may have quietly wiped out bacteria our own bodies actually needed to thrive. So maybe this was never really a story about them surviving without bathrooms at all. Maybe it's actually a story about what our own bathrooms have quietly cost us in return. That cost is wrapped inside every ancient waste disposal habit we ever left behind, buried in the dirt floor of a cave nobody visits anymore. Scientists today are even studying stool samples from remote communities that still live close to the land. They're hoping to rebuild some of that lost bacterial diversity before it disappears from the human body for good. That thought sits differently once you actually let it land. Every single day, you flush a system that took thousands of years and countless deaths to slowly build. You never think about it twice. Your ancestors' bodies still live on inside you right now, whether you notice them or not. They live in the exact instinct that makes you want privacy behind a closed door, even when nobody else is home. They live in the reflex that makes you recoil at a bad smell before you even think about it. That reflex fires no matter how mild the smell actually is, because your body isn't taking any chances. They live in the simple habit of washing your hands, an act your body still treats as sacred. You do it even when you've long forgotten why it ever started in the first place. You are, in a very real sense, still walking into those same dark woods every single time nature calls. You just have better lighting now, and much, much softer paper waiting for you. We traded parasites for privacy, and disease for dignity. Honestly, it's a trade almost anyone alive today would happily make again in a heartbeat, no questions asked. And yet, something in that trade still feels unfinished, like a debt quietly passed down the family line, without anyone ever signing for it. But somewhere deep in your gut right now, a few million years of history are still quietly running the show. They're patiently waiting for you to remember they're there at all, hiding just beneath everything you now take for granted. So here's a question worth sitting with tonight. Picture yourself surviving one full week using nothing but a shovel, a tree line, and a handful of leaves. Do you honestly think you'd make it? Tell me in the comments below, and let me know just how far you really think modern humans have come. Because somewhere out past the streetlights, a version of you is still squatting behind a tree, hoping nothing in the dark is watching back.